Before you brush your teeth tonight, I want you to picture this instead. No toothbrush, no toothpaste. Tube, no minty gel. Just a twig. A stick you pulled off a tree, chewed on one end until it frayed in two. Bristles, and then scrubbed directly onto your teeth. That wasn't a desperate emergency method. That was normal, everyday dental care for thousands of years, across almost every major ancient civilization on Earth. And here's the part that should really surprise you. Toothpaste is actually older than the toothbrush. Ancient people were mixing up dental creams thousands of years before anyone thought to attach bristles to a handle. So how did ancient humans actually keep their teeth clean without a single product from a modern drugstore? And more importantly, did any of it actually work? Let's find out. The single most widespread ancient dental tool wasn't a paste or a powder. It was a stick. Archaeological evidence shows people using chew sticks as far back as 3,500 BCE. That's over 5,000 years ago. The method itself was simple. Take a small twig, chew on one end until the fibers separated and frayed apart, and you'd have something that functioned almost exactly like a modern toothbrush head. Scrub that frayed end against your teeth, and you'd physically remove food debris and buildup. This wasn't a one-culture accident. Chew sticks show up independently across Egypt, Mesopotamia, Greece, and China. And this is where it gets genuinely clever. Ancient people weren't grabbing random branches off the ground. Many cultures specifically chose wood from trees known for aromatic or antibacterial properties, like neem and meswak. The meswak in particular has an incredible staying power in human history. It was widely used across the Middle East for centuries, and its use was directly endorsed by the Prophet Muhammad, which helped preserve the practice as a normal part of daily hygiene throughout the Islamic world for well over 1,000 years. And here's the thing, chew sticks never actually disappeared. They're still used today, in parts of Africa, the Middle East, and South Asia, by people who prefer them over a plastic toothbrush. This isn't some ancient method that modern science quietly abandoned. It's one that just kept running in parallel with modern dentistry the entire time. Here's a detail that surprises almost everyone. Toothpaste predates the toothbrush by thousands of years. Around 3000 to 5000 BCE, ancient Egyptians developed what historians call a dental cream, and the ingredient list is genuinely wild by modern standards. It contained powdered ashes from oxen, hooves, myrrh, crushed eggshells, and pumice. Let's break that down for a second, because each ingredient actually had a purpose. The pumice and crushed eggshells acted as abrasives, literally grinding away at built-up debris on the tooth surface. The same basic mechanical principle modern toothpaste still uses today. The myrrh, a fragrant tree resin, likely helped with breath and may have had some mild antimicrobial properties. The ash from oxen hooves added extra abrasive grit to the mixture. This mixture was rubbed onto the teeth using a finger or a small twig, essentially a manual scrubbing paste. And it apparently worked reasonably well, because the recipe didn't disappear. Around 1000 BCE, Persian dental cream recipes built directly on the Egyptian formula, adding burnt snail and oyster shells, gypsum, herbs, and honey, a more refined version of the same basic idea. There's one catch worth mentioning, because it matters for how we evaluate this stuff. These mixtures were genuinely abrasive. Pumice, crushed shell, and bone ash aren't gentle on tooth enamel. Ancient people were trading some enamel wear for the benefit of actually scraping away buildup, a trade-off. That makes a lot more sense once you remember they had no fluoride, no dentists doing regular cleanings, and no alternative at all. By the time we reach ancient Greece and Rome, dental hygiene had become something more than just practical maintenance. It became genuinely tied to social status and personal image. The Greek physician Hippocrates, writing around 355 BCE, recommended the regular use of a dentifrice powder specifically for cleaning teeth. This wasn't some obscure folk habit. This was a formal medical recommendation from one of the most respected physicians in the ancient world. The Romans took this idea and ran with it, in typically extravagant Roman fashion. Roman tooth powders were made from ground bones, horns, eggshells, and oyster shells, similar abrasive logic to the Egyptian and Persian recipes, but wealthy Romans specifically had access to imported versions, often scented with mint and mixed with wine for extra flavor and freshness. And this is the detail that really sells how seriously Rome took this. Public bath complexes, the social centers of Roman daily life, actually included dedicated grooming sections where people could clean and maintain their teeth as part of a broader self-care and hygiene routine. In Roman culture, cleanliness, including the state of your teeth, was directly linked to civility and social standing. Having visibly clean, cared-for teeth wasn't just about comfort. It was a signal of who you were. Meanwhile, ordinary people without access to imported tooth powders relied on simpler tools. Cloths and bare fingers, sometimes combined with salt or crushed herbs, rubbed directly against the teeth and gums. Less refined, but functionally doing the same basic job, physically disrupting buildup before it could cause bigger problems. Egypt, Persia, Greece, and Rome get most of the attention in this story, but they weren't the only civilizations working on this problem. Ancient Chinese culture actually produced some of the earliest true bristle toothbrushes, not chew sticks, but bristle-based tools made from animal hair, typically hog bristle, attached to handles carved from bamboo or bone. This is a meaningfully different technology from a frayed stick, and it's a clear ancestor of the toothbrush shape we still use today. There's also a detail worth mentioning here that's easy to overlook. Diet itself was doing part of the work. Early humans and civilizations like the Aztecs relied heavily on raw, fibrous plant foods, and the simple act of chewing tough, fibrous material acted as a natural abrasive, mechanically scraping plaque and debris off teeth just through the normal process of eating. That detail turns out to matter a lot more than it sounds like, and it leads directly into one of the more surprising pieces of modern research on this whole topic. Here's where this story connects to actual modern research, and it's genuinely counterintuitive. Researchers studying calcified dental plaque preserved on the teeth of prehistoric skeletons found something unexpected. The composition of oral bacteria shifted significantly as human diets changed. Over time, as populations moved away from hunter-gatherer diets and toward farmed, grain-heavy, carbohydrate-rich diets, disease-causing bacteria in the mouth became more dominant and more aggressive. In other words, the earliest humans may have needed dramatically less active dental care, not because they were somehow cleaning their teeth better, but because their diet simply wasn't feeding the same bacteria that cause modern tooth decay. Fibrous, low-sugar hunter-gatherer food was, in a sense, doing passive dental maintenance with every bite. That reframes this entire story in an interesting way. Ancient chew sticks, tooth powders, and cloth and finger scrubbing weren't compensating for a naturally worse starting point than we have today. In some ways, ancient people were fighting a smaller problem than modern humans are, because our diets have shifted so heavily toward exactly the kind of food that feeds harmful oral bacteria. So where does this leave us? Ancient dental care wasn't primitive guesswork. It was a genuinely functional system, built from 3 separate strategies working together: mechanical scrubbing tools, like chew sticks and cloth, abrasive cleaning pastes and powders that physically removed buildup, and, often without anyone realizing it, a diet that was naturally less friendly to the bacteria that caused decay in the first place. None of it was as effective as modern fluoride toothpaste, professional cleanings, and regular dental checkups. But it also wasn't nothing. Multiple independent civilizations, with no contact with each other, all converged on the same basic idea: physically disrupt buildup on the teeth, regularly, using whatever material was available. That convergence is a pretty strong signal that something about the method genuinely worked. It's also a good reminder that ancient doesn't automatically mean ineffective. The Egyptians figured out the core mechanical principle behind toothpaste, abrasive particles plus a spreadable base, over 5,000 years before anyone put it in a tube. So the next time you're brushing your teeth tonight, remember, you're doing a slightly more refined, less enamel-damaging version of something ancient Egyptians, Persians, Greeks, Romans, and Chinese civilizations all independently figured out thousands of years ago. If you're enjoying this series on the ancient world and what science has to say about it, hit subscribe. Drop a comment. Would you actually try brushing with a chew stick? I want to know. See you in the next one.